This time I'm going to talk to you about the frustration of finding and actually buying your plot. I'm not talking about the resources, just generally what to expect. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about finding a plot. What I'm going to tell you is the frustrations. Now, I'm not telling you this to put you off or to make you think, oh, that seems really difficult. I just want you to know it's or can be challenging at times. This is my story, okay, and how it went for me. I know all the resources, or generally most of them, where and how to find a plot of land. So quite often for me, I'd find a plot come up within an hour or so and I'd be out looking at it. So that's kind of how sharp I was. I knew exactly what I was doing. Now what would happen, sometimes you'd be doing your search on all these different resources, and say if it was an estate agent search, suddenly then a plot would appear and it would be sold subject to the contract. But yet I hadn't seen it before, and I'm like, well, where the flipping heck did that come from? So that was a little bit frustrating. Are the estate agents keeping certain plots, putting them under the desk, so to speak, and giving them to small developers or people they know, to give them the heads up? That's fair enough, I suppose, if you're lucky enough to be the person that's getting the heads up. So that was one little bit frustration I used to find. Another one is you really have to know exactly the location of where your plot is. Otherwise you can spend quite a lot of wasted time trying to actually locate the plot. Get some feedback. Is it near the church? Is it away from the church? Is it near a school? Try and get some sort of idea to locate the plot. Another thing was you must understand to get everything on your tick list is, I swear, I think it's impossible. So go with your tick list, and I very rarely, I think, do you get 10 out of 10, so but you can try and get as much as you can. Now with me, I had quite a broad range. I think I had a 30-mile radius that I was looking in. There was a certain area that I really did like. It's so strange how this worked, but for about 5 plots kept being in this area, and each time I'd fall in love with this area more and more, and I'd put an offer in, and unfortunately I'd be gazumped. So then I'd put in a higher offer and I still wouldn't get it. And it's challenging because you don't know what the other person is willing to pay for that plot. One time I even went 10k over the asking price and I still never got it. So there you go. I don't know if that was maybe the vendor knew the person again and wanted them to buy the plot of land, which is fair enough. Then suddenly a load of plots came up in another area. Now I loved the area, but the travel there from work wasn't as nice. There's a motorway, there was a couple of roads, and I thought, this isn't as nice. But the other area I wanted to live, it was just stunning the whole way. It was beautiful country, little lanes and that sort of thing. So we went to look at this plot, and it was quite considerably over the budget that I'd set in place, or we'd set in place. But we went anyway. Don't ask me why, but we went, I think, for a day out. This little hamlet was absolutely delightful. It was gorgeous, and I was like, I'd love to live in a place like this. It's so idyllic and pretty. stood, listened. All I could hear was the birds. There was a motorway, but again, with the wind blowing a certain way, I didn't hear it. There was a little stream close by. So went home, tried not to think about it too much, looked at other plots, and anyway, it sold very quickly. So that was the end of that. Going on my plot search as I do, and flipping it, did this plot not come back on the market again? Now at this point, I thought I'll do a little bit more digging. So I went onto the council's website, and it turned out there wasn't much time left on the planning permission. Also, the vendor had just lost a sale. Apparently the couple couldn't get the mortgage. I found out we're going into a recession in around about March time. So I figured possibly there could be a motivated seller here, because there's not a lot of time and all that sort of thing. So I contacted the estate agent and I put in a cheeky offer, which I felt was fair, because it's a challenge. If I get this plot, then I have to kind of rush towards getting it a fork in the ground before the planning runs out. Yes, they accepted my offer. So that was that. I was like, whoa, I can breathe relief. But before that, I said I'd had all of these plots that I'd put offers in. It started to move forward. It fell flat on its face. You know, and do you know what? I don't know how comes, but because I knew that it wouldn't be easy, it was never going to be easy, it would be a challenge, I thought, you know what, if it's not for me, it won't go past me. So I always had this in my mind, and I was absolutely fine. Well, I wasn't 100% fine. I was, to be honest, I was quite disappointed in part, especially the ones that I really, really liked. I mean, some of them, I even spent money with a conveyancer. That's how kind of far we went down the line before we had to sort of pull out, or it was pulled from under our feet, so to speak. Okay, so get this plot of land. Now don't forget, we're going through COVID here as well. So we started to go through the process, and I've told the vendor, yes, we want the land, and I found my own solicitor, and it started to go through. I kind of left everyone to get on with it, you know. I'd put in that I want them to act on my behalf. I'd paid a conveyancer, all the rest of it. Weeks later, I get a message from the seller saying, you know, if you don't do something soon, I'm putting this back on the market. You can imagine me, I've been disappointed enough already, and I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, it turns out that, for whatever reason, the solicitor and the vendor hadn't contacted each other. So of course I just messaged them, joined them both in messages and put them together. From then it started to move on. So next time I'm going to tell you about the paperwork and all the hoops you have to go through when you're actually trying to purchase your plot. See you there.